my dear students. I am Vishali Korapati, Assistant Professor in Vignan University. Next one is angiotensin receptor blockers. There are two types of angiotensin 2 receptors. One is AT1 and AT2. So most of the time our AT1 receptor plays a main role in angiotensin 2 receptor. Okay ma? So what is the function of AT1 receptor? AT1 receptor function is vasoconstriction and aldosterone secretion and release of non-adrenaline from sympathetic nervous system. Okay ma? So when we are seeing vasoconstriction will increase my blood pressure. Aldosterone will increase my blood pressure. When it comes to sympathetic nervous system, it will also increase my blood pressure. So that's the reason we are blocking this AT1 receptor. When I'm blocking this, there won't be any vasoconstriction. This is one reason for hypertensive patients that their angiotensin receptors will be more activated. When they get more activated, they will get this type of hypertensive and cardiovascular diseases. So what will happen if I'm blocking this angiotensin receptor? When I'm blocking this angiotensin receptor, it will be showing the same mechanism of ACE inhibitors. Like if I'm blocking this, it will decrease my aldosterone and it will block my angiotensin 2. So when there is no angiotensin 2, no aldosterone, what will happen? Vascular constriction won't happen and the blood pressure will be normal. So the main drug of this angiotensin receptor blocker is losartan. Talmisartan, if you have seen anyone, your relative who are using this antihypertensive drugs, they will be having talmisartan or lovastatin. They will be having this type of drugs, talmisartan 25 mg or 50 mg like that. Okay, in this losartan, we have to give 50 mg per day. It is very effective drug. It is an effective antihypertensive and its action progresses to 2 to 4 weeks. We can give this, if the person is taking for so many years, we can add 12.5 mg extra also. This will enhance the decrease in BP. Okay ma? And also it will decrease bradykinase. Bradykinase will promote inflammation, as I told you previously. It will promote inflammation and causes arterial dilation. So it is vasodilator and mild diuretic also. Next one, let's see the adverse effects. The first one is headache, then hypotension, weakness, rashes, nausea, vomiting, teratogenic effect. It will causes hyperkalemia. And let's see the uses. First one is hypertension, obviously, and next one is congestive cardiac failure and myocardial infarction and diabetic nephropathy. They will prevent and delay the development of renal dysfunction in diabetic patients. And next one is direct renin inhibitors. So instead of converting all this ACE inhibitors or angiotensin receptor blockers, we can directly inhibit this renin. So when we are inhibiting renin, the whole process won't be happen. That's why we will inhibit renin. The drug in this direct renin inhibitor is alastazepine. It will go directly and inhibit renin, which is secreted by our kidneys. Okay, by inhibiting that renin, it will decrease the levels of angiotensin 1 and angiotensin 2. So by doing that, it will decreases my hypertension. It is administered orally. Let's see the adverse effects ma. In adverse effects, first is diarrhea, abdominal pain, headache, angioedema. Calcium channel blockers. Yesterday also we have seen what is calcium channel blocker. It will block the calcium channel which is on the layer of sarcolemma in the heart. Not only that, in blood vessels also it will block the calcium channels. When it is blocking this calcium channels, calcium won't be able to enter inside this intracellular. Okay, they can't enter into cell. When there is no calcium, what will happen? There won't be any contraction. So there will be less contraction. When there is less contraction, what will happen? My blood pressure will get reduced. We know that we have three types of calcium channel blockers. One is dihydropyridine, and the next one is phenylalkylamine, and the third one is benzodiazepines. Okay, ma? And these three are very good antihypertensive drugs. Okay, but this DHP, which is dihydropyridines, are like best drug for antihypertensive. Why? Because it will lower blood pressure by decreasing our peripheral resistance, and as it is reducing my peripheral resistance, it won't harm my cardiac output. My cardiac output will be normal. It will only affect my peripheral resistance. Though it is doing this vasodilation, this fluid retention will be normal. The action, calcium channel blockers action will be very quick. Though they are quick, they will show long action. We have to take it daily once, and we have some short acting calcium channel blockers which we won't suggest in this hypertensive conditions. So when I'm taking this calcium channel blockers, what will happen? As this is reducing my blood pressure, it will also depress my heart. As it is depressing my heart, to compensate that, we will give beta block. And not only that, we have to avoid this type of drugs when we are giving to cardiac dysfunction patients. So we won't suggest calcium channel blockers to any cardiac dysfunction patient. So let's see the advantages of this. So they won't do any harm to our hemodynamics. If hemodynamics are not disturbed, that means my heart condition will be normal. It won't cause us any sedation, because it is poorly crosses the blood-brain barrier. Okay, and it won't show any effect on our plasma lipid profile or uric acid level or electrolyte balances. Like previously, if you have seen, it is like diuretics, they will imbalance our electrolytes. So it won't show that one. It won't show a dangerous effect on our life, and it won't have any fetal effects like adverse effects which kill us. Okay, we don't have that serious adverse effects to it. And also we can use it when the patient is pregnant. And let's see the uses, ma'am. We can use in elderly patients. Angina, we can use in angina as it is vasodilating. We can use it for asthma also. And migraine, hyperlipidemia, diabetes, renal dysfunction. Next one is adrenergic neuronal blocker. So this adrenergic neuronal blocker, before knowing that, we will see this cycle. So if you see, this is this is adrenergic neuron. So in adrenergic neuron, what will happen? Along with this sodium, this tyrosine will also enter into this neuron, and this tyrosine is converted into dopa, and this dopa is converted into dopamine with the help of some enzymes. Inside this, this dopamine will enter into our vesicles where it will store. Okay, ma? Then this dopamine is converted into non-adrenaline and energy. Then this will be by stimulation. When calcium enters inside this neuron, it will get stimulated and it will release this non-adrenaline into our circulation. Okay, into synaptic cleft. When it is releasing into synaptic cleft, this non-adrenaline will become catecholamine. Okay, this will go and bind to our adrenergic receptor. Okay, ma? So why, what is this non-adrenaline function? When it is going and binding to this receptor, adrenoreceptor, it will do few functions. As this non-adrenaline belongs to our sympathetic nervous system, this will show three types of functions. One is increased heart rate, and the other one is increased blood pressure, and the third one will be your increased blood glucose levels. Okay, ma? What are those? Increased heart rate, increased blood pressure, and increased blood glucose levels. So what will happen? Again they will come back. this neuron will reuptake, and this noradrenalines will be eaten by, will be degraded by our MAO, which will be inside only. Okay. Once again, I will say it, thyrosin, when it enters into this neuron, it will be converted into dopa. Dopa is converted into dopamine. And this dopamine is stored in this vesicle, and after storing in this vesicle, it will be converted into non-adrenaline and energy. Okay, by stimulation. When calcium enters inside, it will get stimulated and it will release this non-adrenaline into synaptic cleft. This non-adrenaline will go and bind to adrenoreceptor. Okay, this will show three types of functions. One is increased heart rate, increased blood pressure, increased blood glucose level. So when we are blocking that one, we are blocking all these actions. The main drug in this adrenergic neuronal blocker is reserpine. It's a root extract which is obtained from Rauwolfia serpentina. So what will happen in adrenergic neuron? This will enter into the neuron, and when it is entering into the neuron, first it will block the storage. It will stop dopamine to go into the vesicle and store. First one. And when it is stopping that one, it will also stop formation of non-adrenaline. When it is stopping that, this dopamine will be out the vesicle, right? It is not in the vesicle. Now this is outside the vesicle. Then my MAO function is to eat this catecholamine. Isn't it, ma? So now what MAO will do? It will search the dopamine and it will consume the dopamine. So there won't be any non-adrenaline. I won't show any fight or flight, which is sympathetic nervous system action. Okay, ma? So this is the function. Adverse effects are depression, because no adrenaline, no fight or flight. There will be only parasympathetic nervous system, which is slowing down of our systems, right? So we will go into depression, sedation, and sleep disturbances. As this is all happening in our CNS, we won't have any sleep, and sometimes we will go into depression also. Next one is alpha adrenergic blocker. So in ANS, you have already seen what is this adrenergic receptors. We have two types of receptors. One is alpha receptor and the other one is beta receptor. In alpha receptor, we have alpha 1 and alpha 2 receptor. And if we take alpha 1 receptor, you have alpha 1A, alpha 1B, so many receptors. So we don't need that and all. Let's see alpha 1 and alpha 2 receptors here. So in this alpha receptors, we have two types of alpha blockers. One is non-selective alpha blocker and the other one is selective alpha blocker. So this non-selective alpha blockers not preferred for essential hypertension. We will prefer only for few patients like phenochromatocytoma, which is a tumors in adrenal glands. The people who have this tumors in adrenal gland, that is called as phemochromocytoma. And clonidine withdrawal, the persons who are about to withdraw this clonidine. And cheese reaction. Cheese reaction is if you are taking any drug, MAO inhibitors especially, and if you are taking cheese, that will causes some adverse effects in the patients. To avoid that, instead of MAO, we will give this alpha adrenergic, that too non-selective alpha blockers and selective alpha 1 blockers. This is the first choice of drugs when it comes to alpha blockers. Okay, and not only that, this will show postural hypotension. When you stand suddenly, you will get dizziness and you will faint. Sometimes you will faint. Mostly when you are sitting for so much of time, even normal people will feel this one. For some time you will sit, and afterwards if you stand, you will feel some dizziness, isn't it? That is postural hypotension. Postural, standing. Okay, and not only that, the patient will faint also. So this is more common when the patient is taking first dose. So it should be taken only at bedtime. So what is this adrenergic receptor? This alpha receptors, first they are located in our, first one is vascular smooth muscles. Okay, and next one is muscles of iris, and the third one is urinary sphincter, and the fourth one is liver, fifth one is kidney. So when I am taking this adrenergic agonist, alpha adrenergic will go and bind to this receptor. What will happen? It will show all these actions. It will stimulate in vascular smooth muscle. It will stimulate. It will do vasoconstriction, and when it comes to iris, it will constrict the muscle, so pupil will get dilated. When it comes to urinary sphincter, contraction of urinary bladder. Okay, and it will causes urinary retention. So urine will be in our urinary bladder only. And in liver, glucogenolysis. Okay, and in kidney, it will inhibit renin. So when I'm giving this angiotensin alpha adrenergic blocker, it will stop all this and it will show opposite action. That means vasodilation. Okay, and constriction of pupil, relaxation of urinary bladder, gluconeogenesis, and the fourth one and the fifth one will be renin stimulation. So by this it will decrease blood pressure. So this is alpha non-selective blockers and selective blockers, and this will, when it blocks alpha 1 and 2 receptors in the blood vessels, it will show vasodilation and fall in BP due to alpha 1 blockade. Okay, and if you see here, selective alpha 1 blocker, it will block this alpha 1 vascular receptor only competitively. So it will also do vasodilation and fall in BP. Adverse effects, first one, main side effect is postural hypotension. Next one is headache, drowsiness of systemic, dry mouth, drowsiness, headache, weakness, palpitation, nasal blockage, blurred vision, and rashes. And ejaculation is restricted in some males, especially in higher dosages. When we are taking this alone, like monotherapy, it will be having so many adverse effects. To counteract that one, we will give beta blockers also. So this will reduce our blood pressure, and also it won't affect, it won't cause severe side effects. Beta adrenergic blocker. So this one also have two types of beta blockers. One is selective beta blocker and the other one is non-selective beta blockers. First one, which is selective beta blockers. The famous drug is atenolol. I have already explained this beta adrenergic blocker. You can pause this video and go back to the previous video and see that video. In initial therapy, if we are taking this beta blockers, our cardiac output will be reduced and our peripheral vascular resistance will be increased. If we are taking continuously this beta blockers, then peripheral vascular resistance will also decrease. This cardiac output is reducing, right? That's why there will be fall in BP, and that's the reason you will be having peripheral vascular resistance decrease. Let's see the uses. We will use this for stage 1 hypertensive. If normal patient, in normotensive patients, it won't show any action. In hypertensive patients only, it will reduce the blood pressure. That too, the effects develop after 1 to 3 weeks. It won't show its action immediately. It will take at least 1 to 3 weeks to show its action. So we can't give this drug for emergency purposes. Okay, and we should take this drug once a day. Beta blockers may precipitate our bronchospasm function, and it will also causes sexual dysfunction in males, and it will causes nightmares. This will causes reflex tachycardia. To avoid that, patients should take vasodilators. The next one is centrally acting sympatholytic. In this centrally acting sympatholytic, let's see normal mechanism of adrenergic nerve ending. So if you see, this is our adrenergic nerve ending. In this, what will happen, if you see here, our adrenergic nerve ending will release non-adrenaline into the synaptic cleft. This non-adrenaline will go and bind to alpha 1 adrenergic receptor, and what it will do, when this non-epinephrine will go and bind to alpha 1 adrenergic receptor, it will activate. When it is activating, it will increase our heart rate, as well as it will increase my blood pressure. Okay. So here, when this non-epinephrine is releasing into the synaptic cleft, some of the non-epinephrine will also go and bind to this alpha 2 receptor, alpha 2 adrenergic receptor, which is located on the same nerve ending. This will be on the same nerve ending. If you see here, this will be on the same nerve ending. So when this non-epinephrine go and bind to this alpha 2 receptor, what will happen? It will do negative feedback mechanism. That means instead of more non-epinephrine, it will be released. It will stop the releasing of this non-epinephrine. So when this will go and bind to my alpha 2 receptor, it's a it's like our brain stimulus. For example, non-epinephrine is more in my body. My body homeostasis should be equal, right? So when there is more non-epinephrine, what will happen? My heart rate will be beating fast. Okay, and my blood pressure will be more. To stop that, it will go and bind to this alpha 2 receptor. When it is going and binding to that, it will show this negative feedback mechanism. That means non-epinephrine will get reduced, it will get inhibited. So what will happen when the person have this high blood pressure? They can't afford of more non-epinephrine, isn't it, ma? So that's why we will give clonidine, which is centrally acting sympatholytic. Sympatholytic is opposite of sympathetic system, isn't it? Lytic, breakdown of sympathetic system. So instead of this formation of non-epinephrine, my drug, which is clonidine, it will go and stimulate alpha 2 receptor. So when it is stimulating this alpha 2 receptor, this non-epinephrine will be released into the synaptic cleft, but it won't go and bind to alpha 1. It will directly go and bind to alpha 2 receptor. When it is going and binding to alpha 2 receptor, it will go inside into the same adrenergic nerve ending, and it will inhibit the non-epinephrine. So the production of this non-epinephrine will be reduced. Eventually our heartbeat will also reduce, and peripheral vascular resistance will be reduced, and blood pressure will also reduce. Not only that, the cardiac output will also be reduced. So what is happening once again, ma? What is happening actually? This is our adrenergic nerve ending. In this adrenergic nerve ending, it will release, there will be vesicles. In that vesicles, we will be having norepinephrine. Okay, ma? This norepinephrine, with the stimulation, it will get released into our synaptic cleft. It have to go and bind to alpha 1 receptor, which is on another neuron. It will go and bind here, and what it will show, what are the functions when it go and binds to this alpha 1 receptor? It will show sympathetic function. Sympathetic functions of heart. First one, it will increase the heart rate, it will increase the cardiac output, and it will also increase blood pressure. So, and when there is more norepinephrine in my body, it will show, it have to show negative feedback mechanism. At that time, it will go and bind to a receptor which is on the same adrenergic nerve ending, that is alpha 2 receptor. When it go and binds to that alpha 2 receptor, it will again, it will show negative feedback mechanism. That means it will inhibit production of norepinephrine. When there is less norepinephrine in our body, what will happen? Sympathetic nervous system will get depressed, isn't it? But when we have this high blood pressure, we can't afford more and more pressure with this non-epinephrine. That's why what we will do, we will give a drug called as clonidine, which belongs to centrally acting sympatholytics. Okay, so why we have called it as centrally acting? This adrenergic nerve ending is in brain stem. It will be in brain stem. That's why I am calling it as centrally acting sympatholytics. So this clonidine will go and stimulate this alpha 2 receptor. When it gets stimulated, when this non-epinephrine is released into synaptic cleft, it will directly go and bind to this alpha 2 receptor and it will do negative feedback mechanism. When there is less non-epinephrine in my synaptic cleft, it will directly go and bind to alpha 2 receptor. So this is the function of centrally acting sympatholytic system. So let's see the pharmacological action. So when it comes to pharmacokinetics, we will take this drug orally. Okay, when we are taking this drug orally, it is highly distributed into our body. It is highly lipid soluble. As we know that if it is highly lipid soluble, it will cross our blood brain barrier. As it is crossing this blood brain barrier only, it is going and binding in brain stem. So it will have very short action. That's why we have to take this drug twice daily. Not only that, we do have transdermal patches which we do under the skin. Okay, so to control our BP, we will take this transdermal patch for a week. So let's see the adverse effects. In this adverse effects, the first one is postural hypotension, is dryness of mouth. Our mouth will get dried and our eyes will be dried, and we will be having sedation feeling as it is crossing our blood brain barrier. It will show this sedation effect. And next one is depression, bradycardia, impotence, nausea, dizziness, parotid gland swelling and pain. Parotid gland is nothing but salivary glands. Let's see the uses. First one is we will use it in hypertension, and next one for the alcoholic addicts or opioid addicts and smoke addicts. We will use this drug to stop this addictions. Okay, smoking, alcohol, opioids. Next one is pre-anesthetic agent. It is used as a pre-anesthetic agent, and anti-diarrheal, but not in everybody, only in diabetic nephropathy patients only. And postmenopausal hot flashes. In postmenopausal, the person who have this who are facing this menopause, what will happen postmenopause? What will happen, their body will due to less estrogen in their body, they will get hot flushes. They will be having this hot flushes, they will become red and everything. So in that condition we will use this one. So we will along with estrogen and other hormones, we will give this drug. And prophylaxis for migraine, even for migraine people we will give this. And when we are taking this drug, we should note a important point. When we are taking this drug, we have to note a point that we should not stop this clonidine suddenly. So if we stop this suddenly, we will be having this withdrawal syndrome. First one is headache, nervousness, tachycardia, sweating, tremors, palpitations, and rebound hypertension. Rebound hypertension is after stopping this drug, hypertension will return back. When we are taking this drug, we will start with low dose, and after reaching to one point, we should not stop all of a sudden. We should decrease that gradually, and we have to stop. Then we won't get rebounded hypertension. So why we are getting this rebounded hypertension? Due to the sensitivity of this alpha receptors. They won't be able to store this catecholamine enough in their vesicles, and they will be releasing more catecholamines. When there is more catecholamine like non-epinephrine, it will go and again it will increase the BP, and it will also increase cardiac output. Vasodilator we already know. If you see this one, vasodilator is a drug which dilates this vessels. So if you see this blood vessel, the width inside will be very less. Okay, but if you see this one, the width is more. Okay, so what is happening here, when the vessel width is more, the blood pressure will be reduced. Previously I told you, if the vessel get dilated, blood pressure will be reduced, and if the vessel get constricted, blood pressure will be more. The same thing applies here. So here what is happening, my blood vessel width got increased. When this get increased, obviously pressure will be reduced. The main drug for this vasodilator is minoxidil. This minoxidil is arterial dilator. Okay, so we will use this minoxidil for our mostly dermatologists used for scalp treatment. The persons who have this baldness, they will use this minoxidil. What will happen when they use this minoxidil in our scalp? This is the scalp. Under the skin of the scalp, there will be arteries. So we know this minoxidil is used for arterial dilation. So it will get dilated, and each and every follicle will get this blood supply. When there is more iron, our hair follicle will be more strong. Okay, so we will take it orally. Only for hypertension we will take it orally. Hair we will take it as a hairspray. This minoxidil is a beta blocker, and it is a diuretic also. So this is the mechanism. So let's see the mechanism of minoxidil. So here, when we take minoxidil, what it will do, it will open the potassium channels. So when it is opening my potassium channels, what will happen? So think this is cell. If there is more potassium ions in cell, what will happen? It is a negative charge. Negativity will be more. Negativity is more means hyperpolarization. Hyperpolarization means relaxation. There won't be any contraction, isn't it? So it will relax. And next one is dilation. Even dilation also do the same thing. So this one and this one combinedly, it will relax the smooth muscle. So smooth muscle of heart. Okay, eventually our blood pressure will get reduced by reducing our total peripheral vascular resistance. So let's see the treatment of hypertension. So we have stages of this hypertension. So let's see the treatment of hypertension. When we are knowing the treatment of hypertension, we will be dividing this treatment into two parts. One is below 55 years and the other one is above 55 years age. Okay, in first step, which is a starting stage for this hypertension, there we will give drugs like ACE inhibitors and ARBs. Okay, when it comes to above 55 years, we will give calcium channel blockers or diuretics above 55. Then step 2. In step 2, like when the person get habituated for this step 1 drugs, then we will go for step 2 drugs. In this step 2 drugs, first we will give ACE inhibitors or ARBs, okay, plus calcium channel blockers or diuretics. This step 2 is included for both 55, below 55 and above 55, anybody. Okay, only step 1 will be differing for below 55 and above 55. Okay, so next one is step 3. After step 2, we will go to step 3. In this step 3, we will prefer ACE inhibitors or ARBs plus calcium channel blockers plus diuretics. Here I am taking ACE inhibitors or ARBs plus calcium channel blockers plus diuretics. If you see in second step, ACE inhibitors or ARBs plus calcium channel blockers or diuretics. Okay, ma, but here it will be differing. Step 3 is ACE inhibitors. Then next one is step 4. In this step 4, we will give ACE inhibitors or ARBs plus calcium channel blockers plus diuretics plus aldosterone antagonist plus thiazide, high dosages of thiazides or beta blockers or alpha blockers. What we will prefer for step 4 ma, which is severe condition of hypertension. Here we will be preferring AC inhibitors 1 or ARBs. Okay, along with this two we will give calcium channel blockers plus diuretics plus high dosages of thiazides plus beta blockers, alpha blockers and aldosterone antagonist. So let's see the combinations to be avoided. So if you see here, the first one is alpha and beta adrenergic blockers should not be given with clonidone. Why we are not preferring with clonidone? Because when we are taking alpha or beta adrenergic, it will act as an antagonist of this clonidine. That's why we should not give that one. When we give this, that means clonidine can't show any act. This will increase hypertension. Okay, hydralazine with DHP, which is calcium channel blocker. We should not give hydralazine with DHP or parazosin because it have same pattern of hemodynamic action. And next one is we should not give verapamil with beta blocker. So when we give this verapamil with beta blocker, what will happen? There will be occurrence of bradycardia. Okay, and not only that, there will be AV blockage also. So to avoid that, we should not give beta blockers and verapamil at a time. Next one is methyl dopa and clonidine. Methyl dopa and clonidine belongs to same classification, that is centrally acting sympatholytic. So when we are giving methyl dopa, we should not give clonidine. We should give any one drug only. Okay, so this is about hypertension. Hope you have learned the basics of hypertension and drugs used in this hypertension and treatment, and at which stage we have to treat this hypertension patient and which drugs should be given to which stages. Thank you, ma. Have a nice day and be safe. Take more fluids and vitamin C. Thank you.